All right, so we're diving deep today, folks.
Oh,
Kendrick Lamar's 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, you guys remember this, right? This wasn't just him up there singing. It felt like this huge cultural moment. Everyone was talking about it.
yeah,
And, we love to dig into things here. So we want to figure out, like, what was Lamar really trying to say here and why does it matter so much, especially now?
right.
Especially in a culture where everyone's looking for those hidden messages.
Absolutely.
So to do that, we've got all sorts of stuff to look at, articles breaking down all the symbolism and what it could mean, what fans were saying online, even some pretty strong opinions from both sides politically. But don't worry, we're not picking sides here.
hmm
We're going to lay it all out, help you understand the performance itself and all the buzz that came after.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. Lamar's always been the guy with these deep lyrics, layered meanings.
Hmm.
But to take that to the Super Bowl, I mean, talk about a massive stage.
It's like he was making a statement.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he even called it the Great American Game. I mean, come on. And then Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam, he wasn't just talking football.
No. It makes you think about, like, the whole system, right? You've got black artists, incredibly talented, entertaining everybody. But the system that, makes money off of them often tries to shut them down when they speak up.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
And he was definitely poking at that, like when the dancers are making that split American flag while he's rapping Humble.
Uh-huh.
And right before that, you hear Uncle Sam on the voiceover calling him too ghetto.
Oh, yeah. That visual was so powerful, like directly saying, you don't get to tell black artists how to express themselves. Almost like he's taking back that word ghetto, making it something strong.
Owning it.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of challenging what's considered normal, we got to talk about the whole Drake thing. He performs that diss track, not like us. Some people think it's all about Drake. Others say it's about like a whole way of being a man that's been getting more and more common, especially these last few years.
Yeah. I think it's definitely bigger than just those two guys.
Yeah.
It's this conversation we're having culturally about masculinity, what it means now when we're seeing a lot of, well, aggression and dominance being celebrated.
And then on top of that, you have Serena Williams doing the Crip Walk.
Powerful moment.
That felt huge.
Well, absolutely. I mean, think about it. The Crip Walk, it comes from black communities, but it's been demonized,
Yeah.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
And you have Serena, this amazing athlete, a black woman, who's constantly been told how to act, how to be. She takes that dance, puts it right there on the Super Bowl stage.
Yeah.
It's like saying, nope, this is my culture, and I'm not letting anyone tell me it's wrong.
It's like, this is me. Deal with it.
Exactly.
Now, we can't talk about this performance without getting into some of the fan theories, right? I mean, the internet went wild trying to figure it all out. Like, there's this whole thing about Lamar maybe hinting that Drake had something to do with Tentation's death back in 2018.
Right. And I think important to say up front, most of this is just speculation.
Yeah.
Fans digging deep, finding these little clues. But it shows you how much people want to understand what Lamar's saying, how deep they go. And also, it shows how sensitive that whole thing with XXX still is and how people feel about Drake.
Yeah. And some of the things they're pointing to are pretty out there. Like, he's performing on the 30-yard line.
30.
Which, Roman numerals, XXX, you've got all this imagery of X throughout the whole set. Even the peekaboo part, some people are tying that back to an XXX Temptation song.
Yeah, and some fans are even looking at lyrics from Drake songs, thinking they're like confessions or something. I mean, maybe it's a stretch, but Lamar definitely put stuff in there that makes you think about those connections. And whether it was on purpose or not, he got people talking about XXX Temptation again, his legacy, and how he died.
Okay, let's step back for a second. Look at the whole visual theme. You've got the world as a video game thing going on. The stage is like a giant PlayStation controller. The dancers are moving like they're in a video game. And then there's Lamar stuck in this box at one point.
Uh-huh. Like, visually, it was powerful. Feeling trapped in a system, following these rules you didn't make, might not even understand.
And it felt so different from, your usual Super Bowl halftime show. Usually it's all about the spectacle, the big show. But this felt like he was making us think about something real, something uncomfortable even.
And that's where the critique of capitalism comes in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're always being sold this idea of success, happiness, but how much control do we really have?
Yeah. It's like, are we really in charge of our own lives, or are we just playing this game that's already rigged?
That's the question, isn't it? And he's making us ask it. He's making us think about the games we play, the rules we follow, and who's really winning in the end. And you saw that in the reactions, right? All over the place.
Oh, yeah.
You had people who saw it as like this really powerful statement about America, about where we are. And others were calling it unpatriotic, saying it was dividing people.
It's like some people felt like he was attacking them personally, even though, like, he never really calls anyone out specifically. It's more like he's holding up a mirror, making us look at ourselves, like what's our part in all of this?
Yeah, yeah. It's not about blaming anyone, I think. It's more about, like, recognizing we're all part of these systems, whether we realize it or not. And once we see that, then we can start having those tougher conversations about how to actually make things better, fairer for everybody.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We keep talking about the video game idea, but there's so much more going on visually. Like the colors, right? Mostly black and white, and then these flashes of red at certain moments.
Right. That definitely makes you pay attention. And it kind of highlights those themes, the duality, the conflict, black and white, like classic opposites. And then that red could be violence, passion, maybe even danger.
And how about the way they use the space? I mean, you've got Lamar often stuck in this little box while the dancers are all moving around him freely. What do you make of that?
It's like a visual representation, like feeling trapped, held back by these outside forces. Even on a stage that big, the Super Bowl, he's still showing us that there are these barriers, these limits, especially for him as a Black artist.
Like, even when you reach a certain level, made it, there are still those things holding you back.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just about, like, race or what class you come from. We all have those limitations in different ways. Could be gender, what you believe in, who you love, even our own fears, the stuff we tell ourselves.
We were talking about those XX extentation conspiracy theories. We said it's mostly fans speculating, but there are some pretty specific things in the performance that people point to.
Oh, yeah.
Can you break down some of those details for us?
Okay, so one of the big ones is the number 30. Pops up all over the place. Like, he starts on the 30-yard line. And 30, Roman numerals, XXX. Some fans even noticed XXX Temptation was 20 when he died. Lamar was 30 at the Super Bowl.
And there's the X imagery, right?
Yeah, like all over the set design. Even in how the dancers are positioned sometimes. It's definitely there.
And then there are those Drake lyrics. People are reading into them, thinking they're about XXXTentacion's death.
Like in that song, God's Plan, Drake says, I only love my bed and my mama, I'm sorry. And some fans think, like, that's him feeling guilty, maybe? I mean, it's a lot, right? And we got to remember, this is all theory, but the fact that people are coming up with this stuff, it shows how powerful Lamar's art is. Makes you think, makes you look for meaning.
So many layers.
Yeah.
Speaking of layers, let's talk about how the whole show is put together. The production, you said earlier they kept it pretty simple compared to other Super Bowls, right?
Yeah, really minimalist. And I think that was a choice, It let the message, the symbolism be the focus. You didn't have crazy costumes, fireworks, a bunch of guest stars. It was just Lamar, those dancers, and what he wanted to say.
And even though it was this huge stage, it kind of felt intimate, like he was talking right to you.
Exactly. It wasn't just a show. It was like a conversation, He wanted us to engage with these ideas personally.
Okay, let's go back to the politics for a second. We talked about how this performance really stirred things up. A lot of people on the right, they were calling Lamar anti-American. What do you think? Is that fair?
It's interesting, right? When art challenges how we see things, how people react. I mean, the performance is full of American stuff. Uncle Sam, the flag, even the red, white, and blue. But it's how he uses those symbols that seems to, like, bother people.
Yeah, it's like he's not shying away from the difficult parts of our history, our culture. And for some people, that's hard to look at. They want things to be simple, this perfect picture of patriotism.
And real patriotism, I think, it's not about just blindly agreeing with everything. It's about looking at your country, honestly, the good and the bad, and trying to make it better for everyone. And that means, sometimes, facing those hard truths.
And that's what he's doing. He's making us look at those things, at how we've messed up, how we haven't lived up to our own ideals.
And he's doing it through art, you know, which is such a powerful way to get people talking, to get them thinking about change.
Okay, before we wrap things up in the next part, let's talk about some of the, more out there interpretations.
Oh, you mean the Illuminati theory?
Yes, exactly.
Whenever you have these, like, cryptic symbols, people are going to start talking about secret societies, hidden agendas.
And Lamar's performance definitely gave them a lot to work with.
Oh, for sure. You've got triangles, the all-seeing eye, all that numerology. It's all there.
It's easy to say, oh, that's crazy, but it shows you something about us, Like, we're always looking for patterns, for meaning, even if it's not really there.
Yeah, and I think it shows we're fascinated by power, by control, this idea that there are these forces behind the scenes pulling the strings.
So even if these theories are a little wild, they can still get us talking about, like, how we understand the world, where we fit into all of it. All right, so we've covered a lot. The symbols, the political stuff, even those conspiracy theories. But like, personally, what are some of the moments from this performance that really hit you? What felt like the most powerful parts?
For me, that moment where they make the divided American flag with the dancers, visually, it's just wow. But it also, like, really captures how divided we are as a culture.
And he's right there in the middle of it, rapping humble, like urging us to, I don't know, find some middle ground, even when everything feels like it's pulling us in opposite directions.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Serena Williams, too. Like, we talked about the Crip Walk, what it means. But her whole career, right? People criticizing her, judging her, telling her how a Black woman should act. And she's there, Super Bowl stage, doing her thing.
It's like she's saying, you can't put me in a box.
Right. And it reminds you, like, breaking those barriers, challenging what people expect, it's not easy, but it's so important.
Absolutely. And then there's that peekaboo part. Even if you don't believe all the Drake theories, that image is just creepy almost. I mean, peekaboo, it's a kid's game, but the way he uses it, it feels, I don't know, sinister.
Like there's something dark underneath, something we're not supposed to see.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that main idea, right? Questioning what's real, who's really in control. He's playing with us, making us look at these like uncomfortable things about ourselves, about the world.
So, big picture, what do you think Lamar was trying to say? Like, to that huge Super Bowl audience, what was the message?
I think more than anything, it's about waking up. Like, pay attention. Pay attention to the systems we're all part of, how they work, how they maybe use us, and that we can change things.
He's not giving us all the answers, isn't telling us what to think,
Yeah.
but he's definitely making us think.
Yeah. And it stays with you, long after the performance is over. It makes you question everything, your beliefs, your values, even like what you're doing with your life. What game are you playing?
Exactly. So we've gone deep on Kendrick Lamar's 2025 Super Bowl halftime show, but we want to leave you with this. What game are you playing? Do you know the rules? Are you happy with where you're at? These are the questions Lamar wants us thinking about, even after the Super Bowl is over. Think about it. And until next time, happy diving.